All right. Andrew chatting, my man, James Black.
What's up,
New
baby?
track, Come With Me, just dropped. Welcome to the Free Yourself podcast. Thank you so much for doing this.
Happy to be here, man. You the man.
How you doing?
I'm good, man. Yeah, I was up late last night getting everything kind of set content-wise for today. Running on only a little bit of sleep, but it's all good, man. I'm excited. It's a good day. How are you, dude?
Hell yeah, man. I'm great. I just slugged one cup of coffee and now I got my to chill cup of coffee.
What do you got going on, man? That's fancy right there.
So in my coffee, I use this thing called mud water, MUDWTR, and it's got like everything like from mushrooms to freaking turmeric and cocoa. It's like a brain stimulant with only like it's got like 1/7 of the caffeine like of a normal cup of coffee, but it stimulates the hell out of your brain because of the cordyceps mushroom, and the lion's mane is like for your brain. And it's only got 1/7 caffeine. So what do you think I'm gonna do? Instead of put it in hot water,
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it in coffee.
Absolutely, dude. How long you been on that? Where'd you even find that?
My freaking mom found it, and then the guy that I train and get all my nutrition advice from posted it on his story. I'm like, dude, my mom freaking drinks that. Should I be drinking this? He's like, hell yeah, you should be drinking this.
It's like she knew all along. It was like the
Yeah, I'm like,
secret
all right,
hiding in front
ma,
of you.
freaking good shit.
That's jokes. I'm gonna have to check that out. I drink so much coffee, but like that definitely sounds interesting, man. I know you're into all that stuff too. Hey, you got the nutrition down packed. You
Dude,
know.
it's been a hell of a journey with freaking nutrition and everything. But how do you take your coffee? I know you go by
Just
James Black, so
yeah, just black, baby, just black.
I'm
Although, man, I lived in Australia for almost 2 years, and like I'll never forget this. Like Australia's a big coffee country. Like it's a big part of their culture, and like I'm a Canadian guy. Like when I grew up going to school and stuff, like I was drinking Tim Hortons, like regular double doubles, whatever, like just cheap coffee. And I did like I've always drank coffee, but I didn't really start to like truly like coffee till I went to Australia. And I'll never forget the first day I went there. I went into a cafe and I was like, "Hey, can I get a coffee?" And the guy looks at me like I'm fucked, and he's just like, "What kind, man?" And he points at the board, and I'm thinking like just like a regular coffee with milk. He's like pointing at all this stuff. I'm like, and the first thing I see on the menu is a flat white. I'm like, "I'll get a flat white, please." And I drank that, and I was like, "Holy shit! Like this is legit. This is good." So I don't know. I fell in love with coffee there, and like, yeah, man. If I'm not gonna drink a black coffee, definitely treat myself to a flat white. They're so good.
I've never even what's a flat white?
I don't even know how to explain it. So it's like the same, I guess, idea as a latte. It's like foamed milk, I guess. There's a lot of like foamed milk in it, and it's like shots of espresso. It's just like this
Okay.
really like nice, like creamy coffee with obviously the espresso, so it gets you going. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's like 3 shots of espresso, but yeah, man, it's good. I love that shit. It's
Three
so
shots of
so good.
espresso. That's my
It
kind of
gets
drink.
yeah, yeah, dude. But yeah, like black coffee otherwise for stuff I make at home. But yeah, I've become such a big fan of coffee. I have a few go-tos here in Toronto. Shout out Jimmy's Coffee. That's my favorite. If you're ever in Toronto, hit up Jimmy's Coffee.
Yeah, I'm not
But
too
yeah,
far
man,
from you. You know, I have
I know.
my one of Chris's best friends from since forever is his name is Ayaz, and he lives out in Toronto, and he's been DJing like crazy out there. He does everything from clubs to weddings to freaking um like he's done so much, and his day job is then also he's like an insane graphic designer. Like we asked him to make this one thing, and like even just thinking of the concept and opening up Photoshop to try and do it like on our own took longer than him getting the idea and sending it back to like
Oh, dude.
it was like fucking 10 minutes. He freaking sent that shit back. We're like, that's so
Yes,
sick. Like
dude. It's such a like it's such a treat when you work with like highly creative people like that. Like, I don't know if you know this, but I come from a marketing background. That's what I went to school for. That's how I started out in my corporate
It's a
journey,
good
whatever.
background for this.
Hey, it's not bad. It's come in handy now. But yeah, like to your point, I have so I've been running a side business for a couple of years now. It's just like a marketing consulting business.
Mhm.
But I have this girl, this graphic designer who I'm like became really good friends with, and like I use her for everything. If I get a new client, she comes with me, like, and because she's like that, I'll be like, I need this, and she just comes back right away, no changes, nothing. I'm just like, oh, you're such a godsend. And it's like it's such a treat to work with people like that that just like get it, they can pump it out quick, and yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man.
Hell yeah. And my brother-in-law, his he runs a content company in freaking New York, and um we just had to get this whole thing done. Let's see, all right. I'm pumped. So I can't say like who it's for or anything like that, like, but it's just really cool that I get to work on like some like big names in the industries like stuff, and but it's not like done by Ryan, you know what I mean? It's not like it's just we're a content company that like builds a whole bunch of shit for a whole bunch of people. And it's so cool to watch. Like, we got this one guy that is a wizard with After Effects. We got this chick who's a wizard with Premiere and Photoshop,
Mhm.
and then my brother-in-law, who is just like, I don't know, there's no way the amount of knowledge that he has can fit in his head with all this stuff. Like, it's
Yeah.
like this dude has his brain, when he'll calculate something like out loud to me, and I just look at him like,
You're a robot, dude. What are you doing?
what? Yeah, like, and he comes from a music background too. Like, he's a drummer in the band Lansdowne, who's toured the freaking country, the world, the freaking everything. They've, over something like 250,000 monthly subscribers on freaking
Hey, man.
Spotify, and he's a insane drummer, like an insane double kick drum, fucking killing it. And
Lansdowne, hey? I'm gonna have to check that out.
yeah, it's like real rock music, which is like hard to come by now. You know what I mean? Like, at least in our world, in my world, all the ads and everything is for electronic music. So maybe it's just because we're
Same, dude.
submerged in this world that YouTube and Facebook and Spotify and Instagram all knows to just market EDM. Like, I don't see anything for hip hop or anything for any other genres. It's just always EDM. They've got all my data usage. They know what the fuck I'm.
Dude, though, I will say this. So, like, I'm a big, like, I grew up on, classic rock just from my parents and being around that. So that's like my first love. And that's when I started playing guitar, like, because I saw these guys like Jimmy Page, Jimi Hendrix, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to play like these dudes. So, like, I started, and really, and that's the reason probably I got into music was guys like that, right? You watch them, you're like, these guys are kings. Like, I want to do that. That sounds so cool. And then, like, just through evolution, I guess, and I guess a lot of people probably go through this, I got really into heavy metal. And like to this day, like if I'm not listening to some form of dance music, like I have heavy metal blasting. And like to your point, like my playlist sometimes looks so bipolar. It'll be like some EDM tracks, some techno tracks. It'll have like a couple hip hop sprinkled in, then a whole bunch of metal tracks. And I'm just like, oh my God, what's going on here? But
Hell
yeah, for the
yeah,
most part, it's definitely electronic music nowadays.
dude. And you said probably my two favorite artists from classic rock, freaking Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Hendrix, and the Beatles. Like, at any point in any day, I can pick any one of their songs and put them on. They're all so good. They're all so talented. I
Let it play, just like put it on. I love like when I was growing up, my mom's really artistic as well. And growing up, like when I started playing guitar, I had this dedicated music room, and like I love Pink Floyd, and I was like, Mom, like, do you think you could do this? And I showed her the Dark Side of the Moon cover photo, like cover art, and she like I literally like went to school, and when I came home, my whole wall, like a whole wall in the room, was painted black with the artwork just on the wall. And I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. I was like, thank you so much. This is so dope.
I
But
wish I
yeah,
could
man.
like, well, I could share my screen technically, but well, I'll just send you the wallpaper that I have on my computer. It's this insane Dark Side of the Moon freaking wallpaper that I found, and it's like it's not just the freaking prism with the rainbow coming out. It's like an explosion of freaking color that comes out one side, and it's like so super for whoever made this is insane at Photoshop and shit like that.
Yes. And you're like, I wish I
And,
could do this.
like my fraternity when I was in college, obviously, we had a ritual with Dark Side of the Moon, and before that, like I hadn't really like I before that I loved Led Zeppelin. I grew up the first album that I ever had, and really like it was my dad's, but I was like 6 and said it was mine. You know,
Yeah,
was
yeah. Like
the
this is
White
my
Album.
album.
You know, it was the White
Yes.
Album for the Beatles, and um, so I didn't really know much about Pink Floyd, like except for the fact that Time and Money, because that was on the classic rock station that my dad played when I was in the car, right? It was just
Yeah.
those two, and maybe The Wall. I might have heard of The Wall before that, but yeah, we don't need no. Yeah, of course I heard that, but
Yeah.
I had never like I didn't know the album was like started with a heartbeat, ended with a heartbeat, and freaking so you could just play it. I didn't know about the Dark Side of Oz, like all this stuff, like and just Dark Side of the Moon became like a religious experience for me, and it's like every time we went to there's this bar called Jake's Bar in at Westchester University, and
Jakes.
shout out Jake's. Everybody from Westchester is like, fucking
Yes.
Jake's. Like this
Yeah.
place. Um, before I turned 21, it was either 25 cent or 50 cent Miller Lights, and they were 8 ounce. It was 8 ounce, but still,
Still,
Um,
huge.
and then as soon as it was 50 cent, 50 cent beers. That was their claim to fame. And then right before I turned 21, right before I turned 21, it switched to dollar beers, but 12 ounce instead of 8 ounce. So they
Huge deal
increased it
still.
by 4 ounces, but doubled the price, but whatever. Still, but this is a place like
Crazy.
you could go in and like still smoke. I'm pretty sure you could still smoke cigarettes now, like in 2020, like
They
in
don't
the
give a
bar.
fuck.
Like,
They're like
it's
that.
nuts. It's nuts. But they had like old school jukebox, and every Wednesday was like our ritual night for the fraternity. So like all the brothers would go to Jake's bar. We'd take the jukebox over and just play the entire album, just like
Start to
all
finish.
Dark Side of the Moon, and then go back to the house and you know
Yeah. Yeah. Have a
nothing.
coffee.
It
Yeah.
was
Have a
it
coffee.
was that was the end of the night. That was our ritual. Was go. We'll say that it was.
Man, yeah, that's amazing. They really don't like when you listen to those albums, The Wall too, any of those albums back then, like, man, people don't do that anymore. It's not so well thought out. It's not like you said, like you don't realize it till you listen to them start to finish, but it's literally like one song, like it's made that way. It's made to flow from start to
Mhm.
finish and tell this story, like from the intro to the outro and everything in between, and like the little subtleties that they'll throw in to connect songs. It's like, man, it was such a cool time for music, and it's like
Yeah.
I would love to see that kind of come back. You don't see that anymore.
Well, one exception. Have you ever heard? Oh, excuse me, coffee. Have you ever heard the Good Evening album by Dioro? Oh man. So it came out in 2016 or 2017, and
Okay?
it's probably only 12 songs, but it's like 20 tracks, because in between almost every song there's an interlude that blends the song into the next one, and it's like, with how much I love Dark Side of the Moon and how much that's one album that you could just keep looping and keep looping and keep looping, like I fell in love with this album. I had already like been a huge fan of Dioro, like, and shortly after that album came out, like Chris and I got to open for him at Noto in Philly. Like that was a great experience. We got to meet him, talk to him a little bit, and but that album was still is probably one of the best electronic music production albums I've ever heard. And um, the only other ones that I'll put on the same pedestal is like original the first Skrillex album that came
Oh
out with
man,
Bangarang, first of the year, all that shit, Kyoto,
dude,
freaking.
that album deserves so much credit. Like for me too. Like if I look back on that, like I definitely got into dance music when like the boom happened, and I'll say that. Like I'm not ashamed to say that. You know, I got into it because of albums like that. Like I remember hearing that and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, let's go.
Yeah.
Like this is amazing. And like that album, like I think for a lot of people did that. Like it was that like gateway album into like, okay, I'm gonna explore some more like electronic music, see what's going on. And it was just like, man, that time between like 2012, 2015 was such a golden era for dance music. Like I was talking to friends about this the other day, and it's like even if you go to shows now, it doesn't have that same like magic that it had back then, if that makes sense. I don't know if you feel that too or whatever, but like it was something really cool about music, dance music during that time at festivals, at shows. It just like had this like you couldn't get enough of it. It was just like this crazy unspoken magic. And now it's like it's so cool. Still love it with all my heart, but I don't know. It's
I
different.
I 100% agree with you. Because I think a big part of it was because like when that boom happened, there wasn't music like that, and it was just like this fresh new thing that was like for people our age, like how classic rock was for people that grew up in the 60s and 70s, like that's their music. And
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
like, we gravitated to this being like, shit, this is our fucking music.
Yeah, dude.
And all the sounds and stuff, it was all new. So it was everything, every song was mind-blowing, right? Like all the shit Skrillex was doing. I remember seeing Excision in 2011 at ID Fest, like 2011
Yeah.
Excision. And he had these two huge red X's on either side of the stage. And I'm like,
Yeah.
who the fuck is this guy? And he blew me away. And I remember being there, and we're not going to say like what extracurriculars were happening, but I had this moment where I looked up at the stage, and I had like just gotten into DJing and just started like really loving electronic music. Like that's why I went to that festival. It was my first big experience with electronic music. And I looked at the stage and I was just like, this is what I'm gonna do the rest of my life. I got
We
no fuck all this other shit. Like
that's what I
that's what
want
I
to do.
want to do with my life. And it was that moment, 2011 ID Fest, seeing Excision, and then seeing next was uh Eric Prydz.
Dude, it happened to
I,
me too. I was just about to tell my story. Like that, I think everyone that gets into this, into DJing producing, has that moment. They're at some show somewhere and they're like, "Yeah, this is it. Like, I want this." And for me, that was Eric Prydz. I remember like this was still early. This was probably back in like 2013 when again things started like taking off electronic wise. At least in North America. We talk about it as if it's like new. Like people in Europe are
right?
probably gonna watch this and be like fucking idiots.
Yeah.
But here it was new. And like I remember my friend messaged me, he's like, hey, like there's this famous club, it's gone now in Toronto called The Government, but it was like this iconic club. DJs from around the world loved this place. And it was this like, oh man, it was just this like grungy, underground, big like club, like sweaty club. Like it was so special, man. But anyways, my friend messaged me and he was like, and I used to go to a lot of metal shows with this guy, and he's like, hey, we're going to The Government tonight. We're gonna go see Eric Prydz. He's like, do you know him? And I like again, this is gonna make me seem like such a dweeb, but at the time, like I only knew Eric Prydz for like his tracks, like Call on Me, like the
Yep.
very like obvious ones. And because I was still getting into it, right? And like I hadn't been exposed to like Eric Prydz per se. I was like, okay, like I know Avicii, I know Skrillex. This is early, and I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'll come. Like something new. I always love to try new things. I remember going there that night and just like being in the crowd and being like, holy shit, like this is incredible. Like I like obviously playing music, I always like dreamed of like doing something with music, whether it was in a band or whatever, but there was something different about this where I was just like, whoa, like this is cool. Like this guy's up there, like the vibe. Like it's such like a good community of people that go to these kind of shows, and it's just like this like feeling of love and like unity. And I was just like, this is cool. I want to do this 1000%. And then like the week later, we went to this arena show to see Swedish House Mafia in their final tour. And there was like 50,000 people there. And like that was solidified. And I was like, oh yeah, this is it. Like between those two shows, like a week apart, I was like, this is what I have to be doing. And it's like, it's been a long time in the making, you know. I like, that was back in like 2013, 14 or something. And like here we are now, 2020, and I'm like just getting started. But yeah, man, that was that moment for me. And I think it's cool. It's cool to hear you say that, because I know everyone has that, and it's always kind of cool to hear how people got into it.
Dude, and it's mind-blowing to look back, and 9 years ago, Excision and Eric Prydz headlined this festival in Philly, and I was there, and I'm like, 21-year-old Ryan, friggin'. Oh man.
Time, man.
And here's the part that I'm ashamed to admit. Excision blew my mind. Eric Prydz, I was like, I was like, because it hasn't been until the last like year or two that I've really started to appreciate techno and dark techno, like the shit that you fucking make and shit that Charles D. Oh my God. It's crazy because like the way I've been like keeping it fresh and still loving electronic music so much is by just like getting deeper and deeper into the hole of electronic music. Like back in 2011, 2012, I was like all dubstep and trap, and that's what I fucking loved. And when I would DJ gigs out at bars, if I played it, people would be like, what are you doing? Like, and I'm like, you guys are gonna love this eventually. I promise. I'm exposing you.
You were ahead of your time, bro. You were ahead of your time.
And it was like, I'm happy that I had all those experiences though. Like it makes you a better DJ, like especially like learning how to play to the crowd and switching it up and stuff like that. But man, I've just like, it started off, and like when Chris and I met, it was like I was at the trap and dubstep like, and Melbourne Bounce was like one of my favorites, but Chris was like trance and techno and tech house. And so like when we came together, it was that what are we gonna make? Like we both love way different, and we found freaking, and this is just like in the bass house like boom, and it just like it was like right in the middle of everything, and it just freaking it worked. But I've like since then I've gotten even more deeper to his side, to the tech house and techno, and but with each, you know, every couple of years, like the new, like I don't want to say hot genre, but it's like a song will come out that really breaks through, and it doesn't matter what genre of EDM you like, it's a great song, and that opens the door for all these other producers that are like in this genre, because now Spotify's gonna be like, you might like this song, you might like this song,
and it goes deeper and deeper down the hole. Yeah,
dude, and I love that part, finding new music and finding another thing, because Justin talks about it in Cosmic. He's like, movies you could watch a million times and you'll love it for forever, but with songs you listen to it by the 30th time you're like, where the first time you were like, this is the best song ever. And
yes.
So to be able to find new music and dig deeper into that hole, it's like, here's the next song that's gonna, like, when my Spotify is going at the gym and a song that I used to love from 10 years ago comes on, it gets me jacked up again, right? But a song that came out about a year ago, I'll probably hit next.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's just like,
the new song that comes out, it's like, what is this? And so it's crazy. It's freaking So tell me, I want to get into this track that in today's release day. When this comes out, it'll be Monday. It'll be Monday when this comes out. So release day was 3 days ago.
Hey.
But, so tell me a little bit about this track and kind of how your process went in making it.
So yeah, it's out today, but obviously this is coming on Monday. But yeah, it's out today on Spotify. So the way the label did it, and I've noticed they do this a lot. I released it on a label called IMT Red, and in techno there's this big label called IMT Music Group, and they have a few labels. They have IMT, they have Codex, IMT Red, and then they have a progressive label called Area Verde and a couple other ones. But like it's run by this techno DJ from the Ukraine named Spartak. He's like a big name
Yeah.
in techno. So I was super stoked to get involved with IMT. Like it was like I have a list of labels that I want to sign with, and they were on there. And it was funny how it kind of came to be. I released a like progressive track a couple months back called Illusion, and one of the A&Rs from IMT just hit me up out of nowhere in email and was like, "Hey dude, like we have this newish progressive label called Area Verde," and he's like, "We love your track Illusion. Like, would you make something for the label? Like, would you send us something?" And I was like, "Yeah, cool." And so I made Come With Me, and then I sent it to them, and they were like, "We actually think this is better suited for our IMT Red imprint," which is like, that couldn't have worked out better. Like, I guess I don't know why they thought that. I guess it's like just more techno than it was progressive and a little heavier. But I was like, they're like, "Is it okay if we release there?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, it's okay. Like, absolutely, this is way better." For me, like this was a gold label. So that's kind of how that came to be. But yeah, they released it today on Spotify, and then on the 20th, it officially releases on Beatport. But yeah, man, I'm super stoked on this one. I've been excited about it. Like to me, this track is like the cleanest track I've ever made in terms of a mix, which is like, as a producer, like once you get past just releasing, initial songs and getting your music out there, you start to focus a little more on things like that. You're like, how do I get a cleaner mix? How do I get it to sound like super loud while still being clean and like dynamic at the same time? And like for me, this track did that. I was just like super happy with how it came out. In terms of the writing process, man, like honestly, I just sat there one day and I was like thinking back to like my club days, and I'm like, have you ever been at a club where it's like you meet someone just on the dance floor and like you guys are like, you make that eye contact and it's just like foggy and it's like a really cool atmosphere, and like you end up like, hanging out for the night, dancing, whatever, and it's just like you don't know this person, but you're having the greatest time ever. And it's like I thought to that and I was like, I want to make a track that like takes me back there, you know what I mean? And then I found these vocals that just said like "come with me" and like all this like weird mysterious shit, and I was like, yeah, that's dope. Like I want to use that, and I built the whole track around these like spoken female vocals. And then yeah, the rest came super organically. I just like the way I like to write is like I always do my low end first, so I'll get like the bass and the kick right, and then I'll just kind of write the melody after that. Like I'll start writing melodies on top and then kind of fill everything else around. And yeah, with the vocal there, it just kind of came naturally. Just everything started coming together, and yeah, man, I'm super excited about it. I love this track. Yeah, I love the direction of it, and so far so good today. I've been kind of monitoring how it's performing so far, and so far so good, man.
Hell yeah, man. I love that, because that moment on the dance floor, it might be like 2 hours later, you still haven't spoken a word to this person
At all.
but you're best friends. Like,
yes, it's so like, yeah, it's so cool, man. Like I've had a few good nights like that where you just meet like someone super cool. Yeah, you guys just dance the night away, and it's super fun. It's like it's such a like you have to like experience that at a rave too, at a show. Like it's like I feel like that just doesn't really happen anywhere else. Like I think it would happen at other concerts, but especially in that environment, it seems to happen more often than not. Like you'll just make these like unspoken connections with people, and that's super cool to me. And yeah, I just wanted to make a track that kind of represented that, and I think at least when I listen to it, that's what I think of, and I can like see it and go back to those moments. So yeah, very happy with how it turned out.
It's funny because I was talking to my dad, and my dad loves Grateful Dead. Like he wouldn't say he's a Deadhead, like he's not like a hippie by any means, you know what I mean? Like, but he loves Grateful Dead. He's seen them like 10 times, I think, which for someone who likes the Grateful Dead, that's not even a lot, right? But
he's missing a couple zeros on the end of that.
Right. And but he tells me, he's like, he's like, Ryan, like you don't know what it's like to be at a Grateful Dead show. And he's telling me about like all the love. And literally in my head, I'm like, he's explaining EDM festivals.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
you
like
know what I mean? Like
I'm well versed in this, Dad.
I'm like, this is they are paralleled. And so like it's the only other genre I feel like where it's all centered around love and happiness, right? Like jam bands and electronic music comes together. Cause like I've been to plenty of hip hop shows. You're not friends with the people around you. You know, it's not.
And it's so
I've been to.
different.
I mean, freaking. I haven't really been to any heavy metal shows, but I'm guessing everybody's punching each other in the face. So like,
I
I don't
will
know.
say this
I
though.
don't know.
I will say this of the metal crowd. They're all so nice. Like you will never meet nicer people than people that go to heavy metal shows. They may not look nice. They may look like really mean or burly or whatever, but it's like they're the nicest people, man. They just want to like have a good time and like lift everyone up around them. I remember like we were at a Lamb of God show when I was like 14. Like we were still young, and there's like full on adults here, like big dudes. And like I remember we were in this circle mosh, and one of my buddies fell down in the mosh, and I was like, "Oh my god, he's gonna die!" And this big ass dude literally grabs him by the shoulders, picks him up, and he's like, "You good?" And my buddy was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Woo!" And he pushed him back in. Like just like that's the kind of shit, man. The people are just so cool about that. Like they want you to be safe, have fun. So I gotta give love to the metal crowd. They're always good people in my experience.
I guess also country music is probably a lot of love, you know. I don't see them. They're all crying on each other's shoulders and
As long as they don't get too drunk at the show and then start fighting each other.
yeah.
Country boys roughing you up a bit.
Oh man, there's a country music station. I forget what radio station it is, but it's like I think it's a Philly station, and XTU is what it's called, I think. And they always have a festival right by like Lincoln Financial Field, which is where like the Eagles play and stuff. And I remember it was probably around 2011. It was when I was in college. Me and a bunch of my friends went to. See, now I'm not sure if it was XTU or if it was a big country music artist show that was there. But either way, we went there for the tailgate, and that tailgate was awesome. Didn't go into the show at all. Went to this place called Xfinity Live, which is like a bunch. It's like an indoor restaurant bar, whole big thing. And I don't really remember much once we got into there, but the experience, like first off, like we all know the women that like country music.
Down home good girls.
Yeah, you know, that was a great experience, but I've since become more open-minded to country music. But back then I was like, I'm strictly here to get fucked up and talk to girls. That like back then I was like, I hate this music. Like I was a lot more opinionated, a lot less open-minded. But it's I give the credit to electronic music for making me, you know, a lot more open-minded when it comes to music, because I was literally just talking to someone the other day at the gym, and they were like trying to explain like another genre, and they just meant EDM. And I'm like, you don't even know, man. There's like 150 genres in EDM. Like,
You're
and
just on the
I'm
surface.
like, because he produced hip hop, and he was trying to. He's like thinking of. He's like, not like dubstep, not like trap. I think it's like electronic music. And I'm like, he said. He doesn't know yet. He's just,
It's the
he's
most.
just scratching the surface with it. So
He's about to go down a lifetime of memories here. Go to his
yeah,
first show
right.
and then spend the next 5 years just loving everyone. Oh, that's so good, man. Yeah, I agree, man. Like I'm the same way. I'm from a small town. So country music was big for me, like growing up. Like it was just a big part of the culture. And like what you just said is so true. Like for me, I became so much more open-minded and just like loving and understanding and all this stuff when I started to go to these shows and like be part of this culture, because that's what it is, right? It's ingrained in you. Like the dance community, like that's what it's all about. It's about like being kind and like sharing and, just loving each other. And like for me, like that was a big initial transformation, I guess, was, being part of these environments and be like, oh, okay, this is cool. Like it's cool to just like be nice and like, be cool with people around you and welcome people in. And it's like there's no like, what I love is like there's no prejudice when you go to these shows either. It's like you could have people from all over the world. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, you know, everyone's just cool. Like there's no hate, there's no weird animosity. It's just like a super inclusive culture. And it's like really it just like it's a lot like traveling. Like it just brings so many different people together in one spot, and you get to experience like how other people think, how other people like have grown up in different cultures. And I think I think that's really cool for sure.
Hell yeah. One of my favorite experiences was when I went to Tomorrow World, not Tomorrow World. Yeah, Tomorrow World in Atlanta, not
Yeah.
Tomorrowland in Belgium. And I just graduated, so it was 2013. I just graduated from college. So I'm gonna bring my podcast flag and I'm gonna rock that. And dude, the amount of like podcasts from Central Florida, from Georgia, from those are the two colleges I specifically remember, but there was like probably 150 pie caps that, like, when you go to a festival, like everybody loves everybody, right? But when you go to a festival and like you find someone else that's like in your freaking fraternity, like it was a whole nother level of love. You're just like, there's this one group from Central Florida. The reason why I remember them is they had this 30-foot flagpole, but like it could bend. Like it was so like they were just freaking and
Swaying it.
it's in the after movie from 2013 Tomorrow World. Like you can see it,
So,
like it was so freaking funny. And I might have told this story before on the podcast. Who gives a fuck? But there was the after, like, check out this freaking day. This was one day of the festival. Like I had seen Brills. I had seen who's now LS Dream, shout out. I had seen Fetty Legrand, Chucky, Porter Robinson, Carnage, Flosstradamus, who else? What's his name? Oh, John Dahlback, who is 1/3 of Bro Hug, for those of you that don't know. And
bro, John Dahlback's amazing.
right. And so that was just to like, it was probably 5 o'clock. Like all those artists it was 5 p.m. the day of the festival. And I'm talking to these guys from Central Florida, and they're like, yo, are you going to see Batman, Superman, Spider-Man? And I'm like, what?
What?
I was like, I saw that on the lineup, but like, I don't know what that means. Like, and they're like, dude, it's the Super You and Me stage. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, it's Layback's Luke stage where like everyone dresses like superheroes. I'm like, oh, sick. And they're like, dude, it's Steve Aoki, Layback Luke, and Dimitri Vegas all together DJing. Is Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. And I'm
Oh
like,
my god.
oh shit.
Yeah, you're like,
So
I'm coming, let's go.
oh my god. So that's when we went over there. And then so right, it's towards the end of their set, and a guy dressed as Iron Man, decked out Iron Man, comes out from backstage. And like at this point in the day, so many extracurriculars and other things going on. I'm not checking the lineup anymore. I'm just here for the ride.
You're just
So I don't know
going.
who's on next. And Iron Man's just dancing behind them. And then Steve Aoki grabs the mic and he's like, are you guys ready for Benny Benassi? And Benny Benassi takes the Iron Man mask off. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is the greatest day of my life.
Legend.
And
Oh
I got to
man.
see freaking Benny Benassi. Oh, I've seen like every artist that I've ever wanted to see. Like I can't like I can't really think of many artists that that I'd still go and see that I haven't seen already. Like I'll go and see so many people. Like I'll experience anybody's next set, especially because if I saw Eric Prydz in 2011, you know, he's probably not even gonna play Call on Me anymore. But
I've never seen him play it live, even in
2011, that
Yeah.
shit.
Oh my god. And his stuff now is crazy. His live shows are just mental. Like
Yeah,
everything he's doing with Hollow, and
the videos that I've seen are freaking nuts, and I would love to experience that. But who knows when any of that. I'm just keeping hopes alive, and
I've noticed that some places, especially in the States, are kind of like Canada's still super locked down. Like there's no way even like controlled mass shows would happen here. Like not right now. But I've noticed in some states in the United States, like people are doing it. Like some clubs are open with like a decent amount of people rolling through, like, you know, massed events or whatever. But you guys aren't too bad. Like obviously lockdown sucks, and like we'd all prefer to be in these like massive festivals and shows, but like it's cool you guys have some stuff going on at least to keep the culture alive.
it's really different from state to state for sure. Like Florida is another.
Open, they don't care. They're ready to go.
Yo, I saw on Instagram some chick posted her Halloween costume and tagged Dombresky, and I'm like, fucking love Dombresky. I'm like, what? And then the next, like in her Instagram story, was in Orlando, and it's what pandemic in this freaking. I'm
Just
like,
a normal day.
I'm like, that looks like thousands of people indoors to see Dombresky. Like, what the fuck? And I'm like, this is just, you know, 2,000, whatever, 1,000 miles away from me in Florida. And I'm like, what?
Get to Florida, you're like, yeah, I'm spending time here for a while.
Like Dombresky is someone I would kill to work with. I freaking
put it out there, say it now.
Shout out. Like Dombresky, and it's funny because I have always, I'd say, since I made the transition from just being like a DJ to being like a producer and DJing and going out and doing shows, I've always worn fingerless gloves, black fingerless gloves to DJ. I've just always done it. And I, you know, red, black, and white are my colors. So I'm like, ooh, on Amazon, I see red fingerless gloves. I'm like, sick, like, I'm gonna get red ones. And then I take a picture and I posted it, and it was something, I forget who shared it, but someone that, like 5 people that I didn't follow me, didn't know me or anything, they start commenting like, "Ooh, he's trying to be Dombresky," and I'm like,
you're like,
what are you talking about? Like, this is my thing. Like, what do you mean? And so then I look up pictures, and to this point, I'd only heard Dombresky's music and loved it. So I was like, shit, like, well, maybe this is a cool way for us to start talking. But then I saw that he wears the red leather fingerless gloves, and I'm like, I knew I love this dude. This dude's fucking the man.
That's amazing, man.
But
that's so cool.
I was hurt though, because I was like, oh, he's trying to be. I'm like, I've left that life behind where I try to be anybody else but me. I am fucking genuine.
You're like, you were in the dark on that purchase. Like,
I genuinely had no idea, but loved his music. Like I just hadn't like followed him or anything like that yet, besides on Spotify. So I was like salty, but then like sick. Like,
yeah, that's cool, man. Like how it's always interesting to see like how people took the path. Like some people started DJing first and started producing, and vice versa. Did you find it's like, what do you, I guess I'm gonna ask, do you like DJ more, or do you like being in the studio more?
I love nothing more than DJing and being on stage.
Yeah.
It's like, and with Chris and I've said a million times on all this, like Chris is way better producer than me. Like he's the reason why our music has gotten signed, like all that. I'm starting to hit the studio more on my own and develop my own skills. Like I have all this knowledge. Like Cosmic taught me everything I fucking needed to know about production. it's just when it came to me and Chris, like I did a lot more of the promotion and getting gigs and almost like the managerial side. And then when we were in the studio together, I was like, let's do this. And Chris was always the one, you know, at the helm. And I I loved DJing so much in college, and I got so sick of like playing what the venues or what I was hired to play. Like I wasn't being hired to play Ryan Janni. I was being hired to play top 40 or whatever they wanted. I was getting hired to do a job. And um, it was about 6 years ago. I was like, fuck, man, I got the only way I'm going to get gigs where they want me to play is if I have my own music and they're
For
hiring
sure.
me. So I was like, I got to make the jump. I got to figure out what I'm going to do. And it was like probably a year later that I discovered Cosmic. And then about a year and a half, 2 years after that, I blew out my ACL and I had nothing but time, you know, healing with my leg up. I was on disability from my job. I was like, fuck it. Let's make this the most productive time possible. And I took Cosmic while while I was recovering from ACL surgery. And I was in class like with my foot up like on the freaking, you know what I mean? Like and finally like made the jump. And Chris and I had been working together at a local gym. He was a trainer, I was the assistant manager, and we had that moment of like, you like EDM, I like EDM, you DJ, I DJ. Oh,
You want
sick.
to?
And we just started, you know, all our conversations were about music. And then I took Cosmic. I was like, yo, like this, I'm gonna start doing this. And he had just bought Ableton, and he was producing. Then we both did Syndicate, which was like the other program that Cosmic offered. We did that together. And once we did Syndicate together, we were like, you know, it's way easier to have one name instead of Ryan, Janni, and Chris D'Souza on fucking all our shit. And we did a lot of brainstorming. And then, you know, we came to the remote controllers after Ryan, Chris, RC, what could that stand for, and that whole thing. Um and then we started making music together. And it was 100% because I want to keep DJing. Like he's got all the music theory knowledge. I got none of that. I just know what sounds fucking good. And
Punch in
and
itself, man.
so it's a big, the whole reason why this dream was born was because I want to be on stage. Like that's my fucking favorite part.
Man, that's so cool. Man, you took Cosmic a while ago then. When did you take it?
Yeah, 4 years ago, 3 years ago,
Fun stuff.
2016. Damn.
Teaching the
Yeah.
production side? It was, hey?
And that was when Bo Perisic was wait, did I just say a soccer player's name?
Gonna have to fact check that on the plane.
Philo and Perry. Bo Perisic, yeah, that's his name. It's been a long time. He was one of the teachers as well. Incredible. Between him and Zach, like huh?
There used to be two, like production teachers.
Yeah, and it was
true.
Zach and Bo were it was, forget exactly. One was about like getting a better mix down. One was about creating ideas. They both like they mold, because you can't really talk about one without the other. But they had like different specialties. So it was like Justin was Monday, then it was like Zach, Bo, or Bo, Zach, and it was 5 days a week.
Really? Holy shit.
Yeah, it was sick. It was supposed to be like 8 to 10 or whatever, but it wound up being like 8 p.m. to like 1 a.m. like most days, because it was only 3 of us at a time back then too. Me, Luigi, and Alejandro, where it was that was our crew. Man, and then Bo runs, I forget if he's like the head of the music program at NYU. And Alejandro, one of the guys in my class, was at NYU for music at that time. So like I got to go to NYU and like be in a legit incredible studio. And that was a great experience. And Alejandro showed me a lot of like how to record live instruments and stuff, and to track that in. And he would use Logic for the live instruments, and then get the samples, and then put and do his production in Ableton, and then mix and master in Logic. And he was way ahead of me with all that stuff. Like my first day of Cosmic was the first time I opened Ableton. Like that's how new I was. And
Easy.
that's
Holy shit.
what held me back from taking it for the first 2 years of knowing it. I was like, I have Ableton, I've never used it. And then Justin finally convinced me. He's like, Ryan, like, this isn't a course where we're going to teach you how to use Ableton. He's like, we're going to teach you how to get the best sound and how to market it, and we're going to make sure that you can achieve like all the things that you want with music, not just how do you use this plugin. You know what I mean? And shit, man, I can't say enough good things about Cosmic. It is the freaking, for anybody that is like it's too much money, or for anybody who's like thinking about it is right on the edge, like the best investment I've ever made in my life was joining Cosmic.
Yeah, dude, it's so worth it. I've probably pushed, like, I only finished Cosmic in February, and like really I only learned about it at the end of last year. I didn't know what Cosmic Academy was till like probably mid last year. I found them and I was like, oh, cool. Like they're like sharing some really good shit on Instagram. Like I'm gonna follow these guys. And then yeah, in October of last year, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna like take this seriously. I'm gonna take this course. I'm gonna invest in it, and I'm gonna like have a big 2020. And like I can't say enough good things, dude. It did so much. Like I had nothing. I had 0 releases. James Black wasn't a thing. Like I had nothing. I started from scratch. And like just to like even what I've accomplished this year, like 100% because of Cosmic Academy. Like I don't know. I feel like I would have accomplished all this stuff eventually, but like taking that program, like it filled in so many gaps so quickly, and like just gave me such a clear vision on what I needed to do and who I needed to be. And like it's like worth the investment time. They could charge, like in my opinion, they could charge so much more than they charge. Like it's not a big investment when you really think about like what you're getting out of it. Like I push so many people to Cosmic. Like I talk to people all the time and they're like, yo, how long you been producing, blah, blah, blah. And I'll tell them my story and they'll be like, oh, how'd you do it? I'm like, just take Cosmic Academy. Like just message them now, try to get in. It's like, it's incredible, dude. And like the community too. Like the big part is like what I've learned in music especially is like you could be so good and so talented, and like it might get you somewhere, but there's a lot of good talented people that are doing nothing. No one knows who they are. And it's like it's all about your community. It's all about the people that are going to support you and push your music out, because without that, like what do you have? You have nothing. Right? Like there's like I even see a lot of bigger artists, like way bigger artists than me with bigger followings. Like I'll look at their like posts on social and they're getting like next to no engagement. And then I'm looking at me, I have like 700 followers versus they're like whatever, 10, 20, 30, 100,000. I'm like, fuck man, my like comments are like 10 times theirs. Like my engagement's way higher than theirs. And that's all on having a good community. And like a huge part of that for sure is Cosmic. Like it's just like it's supportive group of people, and like everyone just wants everyone to win, which is really cool. Like it's hard to, I shouldn't say it's hard to come across those people, because like you attract the type of people in your life based on how you are. I believe that, but like it's hard to come across that many people that just genuinely don't have an agenda and they're like, yeah, I just want you to win. That's a cool feeling. That's the biggest for me. Like that's the biggest benefit, or whatever you want to call it. Like this, like the beauty of Cosmic is like after the class, like the group, the feedbacks, like the people, like that's the investment 20 times over. You'll never find that. It's like, it's an incredible community. Like there's nothing like it. And and I'm so grateful to have found it and to have like got in, and like just cool with how it all played out. Super dope.
I mean, just the perfect example is like half my guests on the podcast have been Cosmic fam. You know what I mean? Like, and I wouldn't know any of these people. I'm trying to think of like anybody in Cosmic that I would have met that like had Cosmic not happened, and Chris is the only one that I can think of. Like Matthew, for real, he lives right by Chris. I might have met him, but other than that, like the only and then I was thinking like, what about people that have joined after? And it's like, but I've only would have known them because of their friend that before took Cosmic and they got in. So I've had, we talk, these freaking engagement groups and like all that stuff. Like I'm not in any of them anymore. Like I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm over Instagram. Like I'm barely posting and shit on Instagram. And I'm focusing more on production right now and this podcast. And because if I have a big following but no music to put out, like what's the point? And I know how to do Instagram now. It's not like it's a big mystery. It's just post consistently and make it look professional. Like that's the baseline for all of it. And make sure, like, I still go and support other people's stuff. Like that's how this happened. Like I was like, oh shit, he's coming out a track. Let's go. Let's get him on the podcast. And,
definitely.
But there's been a couple other like engagement groups, and it's like a buddy of mine that I knew from college that also made music, like got me in this engagement group. And it's really like, if you weren't in that engagement group and you would, like, no one wants to support anyone and no one wants to, it's not as genuine as everyone that joins Cosmic like really wants everyone to win. And I'm in there's a group of people, like I'm not going to go into like who it is or what, but it's like a text message chain. And I'm not going to lie, like a lot of it just feels like everyone's putting their stuff in to be like, help me. And then because you see it, like you see it when someone posts something and it's like, hey, like, I'm coming out with this track. Like if you guys just like pre-save it on Spotify, and then it'll be like me and one other guy that are like, done, got you, like the freaking thing. And but then you see some like, did you see about that gossip between this person and this person? And then everyone's messaging, and I'm just like,
what is this?
I'm like, guys, what are we doing here? This is what this group was, because we all love each other and want each other to win, not because we want to. Like I'm not for, when I see something that I don't like, why does my opinion of not liking it matter? Why can't I just keep my mouth shut and have all the people that like it support it? And if I don't like it, I just push it away and I focus on the things that I do like that I feel like is lost so much because of freaking social media and shit. Everyone thinks that their negative opinion fucking matters, and that shit's fucking bullshit. Get your negativity the fuck out of here. Like, if you're on social media and you're posting a negative comment, like, you're a fucking asshole. And it's probably because like you're going through some shit and they feel like, you know what I mean? But
it's just projecting. That's like anything. Like once you learn that, I feel like that's such an important lesson in life, is to not take things personal. It's like if someone's like shitting on you, it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Like it's either something they're going through, or they're projecting some insecurity, or maybe like you did something in the past to piss them off and they don't like you, but that's okay too, because not everyone's gonna like you. Like you're gonna have people that love you. Some people will hate you. That's just the way it is. And you can't really take things too personally. And it's an important lesson to learn, especially in social media. Is like, I'm not gonna read this and take it personally. Like it says more about you than it does about me. I'm gonna move on with my day.
It's tough when you're at you know, our level where it's like you want to engage with every message and so you're reading your comments and you're liking and
Yeah.
commenting back and stuff. And so then that negative comment can stand out. But like someone like I listen to Rogan's podcast all the fucking time. Joe Rogan, it's the best podcast out. Like I don't care what anybody says. And there's a
Yeah.
reason why he's got a bajillion followers and $100 million Spotify freaking deal. And but his whole thing is like, I don't read comments. It's like, okay, but you get 1.5 million comments on each fucking thing. Like, you couldn't read your comments, and you don't need to worry about engagement because you're at the top, and you know what I mean. Like, you're gonna, no matter what, you have he has the cult following, and so it's, and you know, a bunch of other, I've, you know, since I started listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, like all the Sober October people and then all the other comedians that he loved, I've become a huge comedy fan from it, like a huge stand-up comedy fan.
Nice.
And even they talk about like how Rogan is like, don't read the negative comments. And they're like, Rogan doesn't understand that we're not as famous as him and we need to like engage with our fans and
people,
shit.
yes.
Like, because it's like you don't want to read the negative comments, but you have to read all the comments to see where the positives are and to engage with your audience and to build the audience. And so it's, you know, I love social media for the simple fact that I can connect with you. You know what I mean? Like Cosmic and all this makes it, because of Cosmic, all of us on social media and all of us can help and support and show love and just talk, like even, you know, just messaging and stuff. But there's so much, you know, negativity. Like I don't even want to, it's like I don't want to even post anymore because I don't want my worth to be directly correlated with how many fucking likes and comments did I get on this thing. And like, I know that my worth isn't level to that. Like, I know that, but then to be thinking like, well, shit, but if I come out with a song, I need to know like the worth of the song and how many people will hear it is only correlated to that. And it's like, it puts me in this whole loop. So like, the big thing is like, I'm focusing on my own music production and who knows what like Chris and I are going to do, or if we're going to go separate ways, like you just never know. And I just want the music to how I think and how I feel and what my ideas are to be able to translate into making music. Cause like there's nothing else in the world that I rather do than to be on stage and have, you know, be screaming the lyrics to my song and seeing someone and making that connection and singing it and they're loving it like that. It's there's nothing better than that, man.
Yeah, I think that's every artist, like it's their dream, right? You watch like I'll watch concerts on YouTube sometimes when I'm just sitting there like, you know, having dinner or whatever. I'll put on like an old concert like Blink-182 or like Metallica or something. And you like hear a crowd of like 50,000 people just screaming lyrics. I'm like, fuck, that's gotta feel good.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Like, you know what I mean? Like I feel like that's what you want as a musician. Like you just, I don't know, everyone has different priorities and different agendas when they make music, but it's like for me, like I make it because I love it, first of all. But second, I just like I love that I know I can make something that people will connect with on some level in their life. And it's like to be able to see that live, like if you saw someone really just like getting into your stuff or like singing lyrics out, it's like, oh, it makes it worth it. And like to me, like I haven't experienced that yet, but it's definitely something, you know, I look forward to and I hope I get the opportunity to experience. That would be super cool. But yeah, definitely looking forward to COVID kind of calming down and hopefully getting to play some shows and yeah, getting to experience that. It'd be cool.
But so you're coming from playing music background into producing music. So in terms of performing live and stuff, are you well versed in CDJs and stuff, or?
So university, like again, when I got into electronic scene, I was like, I gotta learn how to DJ. And I remember buying these CDJ 350s, like the really basic Pioneer CDJ 350s, and whatever mixer goes with that, I can't remember, but it's like a super basic 2-channel mixer by Pioneer. So that's what I learned on. I learned on these CDJs. And I used to just like DJ at my house in university, like pre-drinks and stuff like that. DJ'd a couple times at like small little events, but I've never got to DJ like properly in a big club or anything like that. So it's definitely something I want to like, experience, and like just the using club system. Like I even recently just meeting a lot more people in Toronto, like just naturally through releasing music, I've met a lot of people in Toronto that are in that scene, and they all have these setups in their house, which is like, I always find that crazy. I'm like, where'd you guys get the money to do this? But
right, it's like 10 grand for a set of CDJs and shit.
Yeah, and I like go to these houses. I'm like, what are you guys all like rich, selling drugs? Like, what's going on? But like, yeah, like just through friends now, I've got to play around with them, and I'm getting more comfortable on them for sure. But yeah, like it means nothing until you actually do it, right? Like the experience is everything. Like I could practice in a bedroom or practice in someone's house all I want, but it's different, obviously. Like you'll know, like I know you do this and like you're experienced with it, but like I feel like with anything, like you can practice so much, but it doesn't really do anything until you actually do it live, like till you actually do the real thing. Like that's where the experience comes in. Like now you're playing to a crowd with real emotions and like like real preferences, and it's not just you jamming by yourself in some house. And I don't know, I definitely look forward to that. Like it's something, it makes me nervous, I'm not gonna lie. Like the thought of it makes me nervous for sure, but yeah, it's something I want to experience. And obviously, like as a producer, like that's the end goal, right? Like I love to make music, it's so therapeutic and fun for me, but like I want to get out there and play it 100%.
Well, your shit is gonna slap on those speakers, let me tell you.
So I have like, yeah, I love like, so I send out a lot of promo to guys that are playing shows and guys that play tracks, and like I'm always messaging them like, how did it feel? Like how did it sound in the clubs? And they're like, dude, it's banging, it's massive. Like it'll be a fun time for sure, just to like finally play out tracks live and see how the audience digs them.
The best, kind of like advice that I can give is all that practicing and all you've done the hard part, right? Like once you get to that stage, all the hardest stuff, like that's the easy part, right? Like you get on, you practice, you made the fucking music, and you love your own music. You just gotta make sure the audience can see that you love your own music. And that's like, I've played probably the biggest crowd that I ever played to was probably like 250 people. And man, the number one compliment that I always get is like, Ryan, like your energy is so wild, and you're going so nuts, and like you love it so much, and that I love it because you love it. And that's like I've heard that countless times from people, and like energy transfers like that. Like God, like I think back to seeing Zomboy freaking at Electric Adventure 2014 on the beach in Atlantic City. Freaking wild. Zomboy is up on stage going harder, headbanging, then going harder than everybody in the crowd. And like this was towards the end of the day, because he's a freaking headliner. So it's towards the end of the day. So I'm freaking dead tired, but his energy just transferred to me, and I'm back to headbanging and going freaking hard. And it was like that moment. It was like, all right, like no matter what, I gotta be going harder than everybody on stage. But there's not a lot. There's some artists, I'm not going to get into specifics, that are on stage, their music is just that good, where they're just on stage vibing. They're not like They're not dancing around crazy. Like they might not even have a smile. They're just like making sure everything's clean and going. But the music and the screen and the lights and everything is just on point. And that whole experience energy transfers too. So everybody's different. Right? Like I know I'm gonna go ape shit on fucking stage. Like, there's a reason why I got long hair. I'm headbanging. Like
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I still don't know what I'll be like when I start performing live, the type of, energy I'm going to bring to the table, how much movement I'm going to have, whatever. I'm sure it'll just come naturally and I'll just start feeling it and vibe with the crowd and back and forth. But yeah, it's interesting you say that, man. It's like, it's super good advice. You know what I mean? Like, energy does transfer. And as long as like people can tell you're having a good time and you love what you're doing, it'll transfer. I remember listening to, I don't know what it was. Thing and someone was like, they said something along the lines of like, if people are there to watch a show, like you're the host, you're leading the night. You know what I mean? Like you let them know how to feel, like where to be, what to do. And it's like that mindset instead of being like, whoa, everyone's looking at me. Like, I hope I don't fuck up. Where it's like now you become the mindset of the host where you're like, I just want you guys to have a good time. Like, what do you need? Like, I got you. Like, let's go. Like that mindset change. I was like, remember I heard that? I was like, fuck yeah, that's really, really good advice. You know what I mean? Like as long as you keep that mentality, you're good. Like people are there, you're the host, you're showing them what to do.
hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wish I knew who said that so I could like quote them, but yeah, I don't remember. But I remember like it stuck in my head. I was like, fuck yeah, that's great advice. Especially if like you get nervous or whatever, you think like, bad stuff's gonna happen up there. Like if you're the host, like I feel like that like really lowers the pressure. Like even if you do mess up, like whatever, you're having a good time, shit happens. Like, carry on.
To that point, all right. Who gives a fuck if you mess up? I have seen the biggest artists in the world cut out. Like I've seen Tiesto cut out a couple times. I've seen Brill's cut out a couple times. I've seen Dylan Francis cut out. Like fucking happens, man. There's been times where like I got like a loose part of my hoodie like hit the crossfader over when the song was over here. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck? And I'm like, oh god damn it. Just move it over. I'm like, god damn it. I'm like, how did that? Oh, it's this fucking. But like that moment, the anxiety that comes over you for that moment when you mess up, it's like fuck. But you realize like from going to shows and experiencing it, like no one's fucking perfect. Like there is going to be a moment at some point in your live career that you're gonna fuck up. Get with that.
It's gonna happen.
Accept that shit now. Like, but a big thing with how I kind of calm my nerves when I'm going like about to go on stage. Like, there's a very fine line in feeling the emotion of nervousness and excitement. So when you're back there, if you feel nervous, fuck that. I'm so excited. Just start saying that shit and you just get pumped up. It works for me because it's the same. It's like you feel your heartbeat. You're like, oh shit, like looking around like, oh man, what if this happens? But it's all because I'm saying in my head, what if this happens? What if this happens? Instead of just being like, this is going to be incredible. Yeah. I'm so pumped. Now my heart's beating even faster and I'm like, let's fucking go. And now I have all the energy to go ape shit on stage when I'm performing. Like it's just such a subtle, Danny Wilson, Average Citizens. She's got her whole, she's like, she's not a psychologist, but she's got sports psychology background and stuff. And when I had them on the podcast, we talked about that a lot. And like, they've got their whole like pre-show routine and like everything that they do together. It's like a mantra that they say and all this stuff. And it's fun to be able to like develop that type of stuff and like what you do and seeing how you feel. And man, you're going to fucking love being on stage because you're going to have that moment where you drop your fucking song and the crowd just goes fucking nuts, and you're gonna fucking be like, this is the best drug there is. You're gonna love it, dude, because you're obviously, with the trajectory that you're on and the quality of the music that you're making, you're gonna be on fucking stage real fucking soon, dude. I'm so
Thank you,
fucking
man.
pumped. This song is amazing. Come With Me, the fucking vibe that is bringing. I love how you explained it. I'm so excited to see how the success of this track, and to keep watching you grow, man. It's a beautiful thing. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. This has been incredible. James Black, Come With Me, out now on Spotify. Make sure you go download that. Tell everyone how to find you on social media.
James Black Music on everything: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You know, I really appreciate any support on this new release. It's a really special one, important one to me. Trying to impress the label as well, so they'll have me back. So, yeah, any love, you can check it out. It would mean the world to me, guys. Thank you. And thank you, man. Pleasure. This was awesome. I really appreciate it. You're a beauty. You know, I love you.
Love you to death,
And
man. Every time
yeah.
you have a release, you are more than welcome to come on here and get some more promotion and talk about this. You know, I love you to death, man. I'll be talking to you soon, supporting. I'll share my story, the track, and what's the release date for Beatport too?
So 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks.
I'll be sharing a pre-order link as soon as it's live, for sure.
Oh yeah. James Black, everybody. Let's fucking go. To everybody that's tuned in and stayed in for the whole time, I love you guys. Thank you so much for your support. Till next time, peace, love, unity, respect. We're out.